Hi guys, so in today's video, I'm going to be doing the moon and continuing with this whole theme of the planetary family. I didn't do them in any particular order, but today's moon is brought to you by Angelina Jolie, who kind of has become this superwoman, super mom character that we see in the media. And there's an interesting discussion I'm going to have about her actual chart. And towards the end of the video, I'm going to give you the placements of what that moon means in the different houses of the chart. So if you're interested in seeing how it plays out in your chart, wait until the end. But I'm going to begin by talking about the moon itself, okay? So the moon represents that mother nurturing energy that we have within us. And even though the moon does represent the mother, not everyone's moon is going to be very moony. Not everyone's moon is going to be very mothery, because you always have to pay attention to what element the sign is, what element and sign the planet is in. So the moon is comfortable in Cancer because the moon belongs with Cancer. The moon is a watery planet. Yes, it's a planet. We call it a planet in astrology. And so if you have, per se, a fiery moon, then that moon is not very comfortable with more calm and nurturing activities. So everybody's moon is going to be a little bit different. So that is talking about the moon archetype, right? But if we think about the moon in what it actually is in the chart and what it represents dealing with our personalities, the moon is the emotions that we have and the type of needs that we have and how we find comfort in our lives. So depending on where in the chart your moon is placed, that's where you're going to go for comfort, okay? So yeah, the moon is where you want to be comfortable. It's where you kind of, how you fall back on things. So like your automatic way of doing things, that's your moon. So whenever you get sad, you have a particular thing that you always do, or when someone hurts your feelings, you have a thing that you always do. It's also your emotional gut reactions. That and Mars put together will show you someone's gut reactions. It'll also show you someone's needs. So like the things that they need to feel safe and feel okay in this world, that will be exhibited by the moon, the sign that the moon is in. So let's talk a little bit about Angelina Jolie's chart and how she has become this moon character for us to see. She's kind of evolved. So if you look at her chart, she's actually got a lot of fire energy. So that is like traditional old school 90s, I believe, Angelina Jolie. Whenever we saw her as like Tomb Raider and like this kick-ass chick, she was super fiery. And that is how she's actually, yeah, her sun's in Gemini and Mercury's in Gemini. But her midheaven is in Aries and it's conjunct Jupiter and conjunct her moon and Mars. So she has a big Aries stellium that is coming through that midheaven. So that's why that was what we saw projected. That is what she consciously wanted to project, because the midheaven is a very conscious place of our chart. So that's where we're attempting to give off a look. So she was very much trying to give us that Aries look, which is very interesting because now when we see her more out of the limelight, so out of that midheaven limelight, she displays what's more natural to her, which is her ascendant. And her ascendant is actually conjunct Venus in Cancer. So her way of relating Venus is Cancerian. So it's very warm and loving and motherly. That's who she naturally is. That's what comes naturally to her, Venus. Venus is what comes naturally to you and how you relate and behave with other people easily, okay? Venus and, your ascendant is your way of behaving and your way of doing things and your way of seeing the world. So she's seeing the world through a Cancer lens. And Cancer is that sign that represents the moon. When you also think of Cancer, Cancer is a very protective sign. And so is the moon, because the mother wants to nurture. Think of a mama bear. So mama bears look very loving and sweet whenever they're with their little cubs. And just in general, if we think of a mother bear, and we're just like, oh, it's a warm, soft energy. But don't you come near those little baby bears, because she will claw your head apart, okay? That's how Cancer energy is, and that's how the moon is. The moon is very volatile. It could change very quickly, because if you look at the planet itself, the moon, it goes through that cycle every single month, and it's constantly changing. So it reminds me of how, you shouldn't trust your feelings because feelings change. That's how your moon is. Your moon is ever changing and ever evolving, just depending on the cycle that it's in, right? And so that is how the moon behaves. It's very irrational. There's no reason to how the moon reacts and behaves. The moon is just going to react. It's similar to Mars, but a little bit different. It's like the feminine version. So as this is gonna be, it's gonna sound like sexist, but it is the way that women were seen as like hysterical. Women don't really go and fight. Women are more likely to like scream and cry. The moon is like screaming and crying, and Mars is like fighting, even though like men and women both have Mars and moon. So it's just a matter of how we express the feminine rage or the masculine rage. We have masculine and feminine rage in our chart. It's just a matter of what sign it's in, so how we're going to display it, and in what area of the chart we're going to display it, or if we're going to repress it, 12th house, 8th house, right? Or if we're only going to show it in private, 4th house. Okay, so now that we just, like we see Angelina now when she's out with her kids and she's always protecting them. And right now, like I think like a few days ago when I was trying to do some research for this video, I saw that her son, I believe it's Maddox, one of the older ones, she's taking him to university in Korea, and she's just like there like a regular lady, like she's just being a mom, because that's who she really is. Like her ascendant is her persona, her personality, her physical body. She's very motherly. And we no longer see that carefully curated midheaven image that she had created all those years ago, because we don't see her in the limelight anymore. Right now she's really focused on that Venus ascendant Cancer side of her. So yeah, that is Angelina Jolie as the moon. And now let's see where you display that mama bear irrational energy, or where you are comforted and comfort others. Where is the moon placed in your chart? So if you have the moon in the first house, then you have a very visible, it's kind of similar to Angelina's. She's a rising Cancer. If you have a moon in the first house, you're going to seem very motherly. You're going to always want to take care of people. If you see somebody suffering or somebody who needs something, you are going to be very much conscious of that, because the first house is that house that is interacting with everybody else, with your surroundings. So you're always attuned to what other people are needing. You're very attuned to people's needs when you have moon in the first house. And also, whenever you have feelings, you cannot hide them when you have moon in the first house. People are going to see them because that first house is so visible. If you have moon in the second house, also if you have moon in the first house, you can kind of be, you can get, because the moon is also where you can get stuck in a rut. And if you have moon in the first house, you can get stuck in a rut by like eating, you comfort eat, and you can tend to gain weight if you have moon in the first house, because your body is your comfort area. You feed yourself and you stay comfortable and cozy, and you just create a little bit of home and comfort for yourself in that first house. If you have moon in the second house, then you find comfort in your material possessions. You really want to build a home for yourself that is comfortable when you have moon in the second house. And you can kind of also get kind of lazy and complacent about your material possessions and your earning power and potential when you have moon in the second house. But you really need money to feel comfortable when you have moon in the second house, okay? If you have moon in the third house, then you might have a very sweet way of talking. You might be really good at interacting with other people on a daily basis. So like chit chat, you might be a very sweet little chit chatter. Kind of like Venus, but Venus is more like pleasant, and the moon is more like sweet and mothery. And they're similar. The moon and Venus have similar energies because they're both feminine. But think of the mother when you think of the moon. But by the same token, when you have moon in the third house, if somebody pisses you off, and it depends what sign it's in, you're really going to pop off, because that moon is right there. It's going to be communicated. If you have moon in the fourth house, and I have friends with moon in the fourth house, moon in the fourth house people, I have a friend with Cancer moon in the fourth house, and I never knew. She was always like, oh yeah, I don't seem like a Cancer moon, blah, blah, blah. And that's because if you have it in the fourth house, only the people that are super close to you, almost basically literally in your home, because we're really close friends, and I was so betrayed when I didn't even know that side of her. I didn't feel betrayed. I have Mars in the fourth house, and she doesn't see that side of me either. So it's only the people that you live with, like people who see you every single day, that you have to be comfortable with because they're in your home. That's who's going to see that moon, okay? Whatever sign it's in, that's who's gonna see that moon. If you have moon in the 5th house, then you have a very sweet and tender appearance when you are expressing yourself in the world and when you are living passionately. And people, like kids and people that you come in contact with through like fun endeavors, like through going out, through dating, and through your hobbies, they're going to see that. You're going to like you might be the mom friend if you have, no, the mom friend would be more in the 11th house actually. So you might be mothery in your expression of your passions. So that might be like those mom bloggers, they might have moon in the 5th house. Mom bloggers and people who have maybe hobbies related to motherhood. Maybe like people who are really passionate about maternity and doulas, 5th house, moon stuff. So if you have moon in the 6th house, then your work itself is kind of like your baby and you're very protective of your work. And your routines are so important for you if you have moon in the 6th house, that you use routines to find comfort and to find peace within yourself. You need those routines, they're super important for you. If you have moon in the 7th house, then you are going to attract people who like mommy energy, like people who have like big, strong mom vibes. That's you, moon in the 7th house. And you attract people, you attract big babies basically. And it could go the other way, it could go one way or the other, because the 7th house is kind of dual in that whatever you have in the 7th house, you attract it out of others, but you also provide it in the relationship because it's the house of the relationships. So you might attract big babies when you have the moon in the 7th house, but you also can become a baby because the moon and Cancer in general is very symbiotic because you need each other. It's a very needy relationship because the mom needs the baby, because without the baby, then the mom isn't a mom, but the baby needs the mom to survive too. So it's very symbiotic, like mom and baby, Cancer. That's why the relationships are so needy. That's why Cancers are so needy. If you have moon in the 8th house, then your feelings are very much, and your needs are very much hidden from you. You suppress that side of you and you're not really familiar with your feelings or your needs, and you kind of ignore them for whatever reason. If you have the moon in the 9th house, then you find comfort in traveling and learning, in exploring the outer world, perhaps in spirituality with the moon in the 9th house. That's where you go to find comfort. Whenever you want to escape for a while, not escape, that would be more Neptune. Whenever you want to feel at home, you might explore the world. You might be like a vagabond with moon in the 9th house. If you have moon in the 10th house, then you find comfort in your work and in your work surroundings. And you might have because remember the 10th house is career and your work and that perfectly curated persona that you give off. So with moon in the 10th house, you can seem very mothery at work and just in general, like a protective person. That it depends what sign it's into and how it's interacting with the rest of the chart, but you might give off that like strong mama energy at work, and in general you might want to seem like a protective person who is kind of sweet with moon in the 10th house. You also might get along really well with women at work with moon in the 10th house. Moon in the 11th house can be that mom friend. So moon in the 11th house, people really need their friends. They can be mom friends, but because the moon is also your needs, you need to belong to groups and you need to have friends. Like you need them to just be comfortable, because to just exist. Because the moon is a lot of our comforts and what allows us to like feel whole. And when you have the moon there, then you absolutely need your friends. So if you have the moon in the 12th house, then you are not very conscious of your needs. Not that you repress them, but you aren't really aware of them. You have to really be very attuned to your psyche to be able to understand what your needs are and what your feelings are. You might have to like go away and think for a long time to really know what you're feeling. And I find that people with moon in the 12th house might be so detached from their feelings that when other people tell them how they feel, they might be like, oh yeah, I do feel that way, because they're so out of tune with their own feelings that they'll just accept like somebody else's opinion on their feelings and be like, oh yeah, I was sad about that, even if they weren't, because they're not in touch with their feelings. And with moon in the 12th house also, because the 12th house is the house of seclusion and just being alone, you might need a lot of alone time to recharge and to feel whole and to feel complete with moon in the 12th house. So guys, that was the moon in Angelina Jolie and through the houses. I hope you liked the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.